Guys, I am worried. I'm a mum of two, as most of you know, and right now I am seeing that there are so many teens, too many teens, who are either trapped by their phones or by vaping or by what they're seeing on TikTok and on Instagram, having the latest Sephora things, Nike, like just these, I want to say, damaging and toxic behaviors and beliefs. And it scares me. My kids are not yet teens. They're 7 and 9, almost 10. But this is something that we are seeing a lot of online, on the news, on Instagram, wherever we're seeing it. This is something that is really worrying. So this is not like an all doom and gloom, but I wanted to grab your attention if you have a teen specifically, or maybe a tween who you are worried about going down these paths and being swayed by friends and friendships and just things that are not good for them. I want you to know you are your child's best bet, and you are your child's or your teen's best support system and the person who is going to be able to support and protect them through any of that. And what it comes down to is relationship, connection, and listening. So today's guest is Kirsten Cobabe. I have absolutely loved her stuff on Instagram for a long time. She works with parents of teens, and she shared such incredible stories about her own teenhood, her own really challenging, scary moments. And she just spoke absolutely from the heart about how we as parents can actually protect, uplift, and support and bolster our teens so that they don't fall into some of these really dangerous traps. I think one of the biggest things that came out of the conversation was that a lot of us feel like we are really good listeners, and unfortunately, we're not. We tend to not listen. I know that you guys are going to love this episode. Even if your kids are younger, one day our kids are going to be teens if they're not already. And so I want to prepare myself as much as possible. And this is why I absolutely had to have Kirsten on. Okay, let's dive straight into the episode. Enjoy. Hello, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm so good, and it's so good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. We were just talking offline before we hit record about all the like 1,000 things that we could talk about in this episode. We're going to have to stick to a few because of time, but oh my goodness, I could pick your brain about teenagers and parenting teens forever. So firstly, thank you for doing what you do.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, we could talk for days, I think.
Yes. And my kids are younger, so they're 7 and almost 10. So they're like in that obviously not preteen, but the teen years are yet to come. So I'm like, okay, I want to absorb and learn all I can before those years happen, because I know there's just changes and I know there's differences and things like that. I'm not one to believe that, oh my God, the teen years are going to be awful, like get ready for them. I'm like, no, like I don't know, is that true? Because obviously you're further ahead. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's wise to be prepared as best we can in terms of what's age appropriate, what's going on with the brain, what should I expect, and how do I respond to that? Because that is the most we can really prepare for. We can't prepare for like the surprises that life will always offer us, but we can prepare for this stage of child development, and it is really critical and really unique and really pivotal.
Okay, so for those people who are listening who don't yet know about you, and I love your Instagram, so that's obviously where I follow a lot of your work, but tell everyone a bit about who you are and the work you do.
Yeah, so I work with teenagers and their parents, sometimes together, like but often separate sessions, for example. And I focus on coaching, holding space, listening, finding the common ground and the pathway through. My history and background, I was a therapist for a while. I was in private practice. I was a contracted therapist in middle and high schools. I've worked in prisons, hospitals, with the homeless community, with people at risk, like the highest risk communities. And I've always worked with teens, though, and had this natural ability to understand teenagers and children and sort of read between the lines, read the energy, understand the needs underneath the behavior. And I know this is a really common conversation now, thank goodness. I had this skill as a young person myself. I was a teenager when I was mentoring parents who were raising teenagers. So I was very fortunate to be in that role. So this is sort of what I'm here to do. And it's really connected. We were talking before, I'm like, I don't share my personal story that often. I share more of my professional background because it feels it's so relevant. And then there's this other part of me that, and I don't make my work about me. It's just important. That being said, of course, these dynamics and dances are so, we're all interwoven here, right? We're all interconnected. We're all learning, growing together. And so I was thinking, gosh, my personal story is so relevant too. And so some of it is that as a young person, I was raised with a lot of freedom. And so that was really beautiful, and also craved structure and feedback and reflection and this like intentional listening and connection with my parents, of course, as all children do. And as I grew up and got older, I mean, like I said, I had these skills and abilities to work with children and teenagers. I found myself in a really abusive relationship as a teenager. And looking back now, I can understand what that was, right? What I needed, how I was filling that void and that basic human need of connection and attention. And we see this now for teens too, right? It might be in social media. It's sometimes in a relationship. And so when I think back to, gosh, why did it go in that direction, right? It's not a victim mentality about it. It's just, how come that happened? What was that about for me? And thank goodness I made it through, because there were some very close calls. But within that, I was really looking for guidance and connection and something solid to even hold on to. I had little snippets of supportive people along the way. They were teachers, social work teachers, art teachers, which is funny because I'm a social worker and an artist. So it goes to show how influential the adults can be in teenagers' lives, whether they're parents or teachers or soccer coaches. And we are the people that can help to support teens get through these tough moments in life, because they are so transformational and there are specific needs, without them having to find it in dangerous places or with dangerous people or in dangerous ways. And it's so easy to look back now and realize, gosh, I was just trying to get some needs met. And I wish that someone had seen that and recognized that and offered that in a healthier way. And, I'm not one to want to, I'm not interested in like blasting that person or that dynamic. It's just, we need to be aware of these things so that these types of dynamics don't happen when they don't need to, right? Because they don't have to.
Oh my gosh, I have two questions. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. But
No,
because
that was the end.
and my questions were, I'm so like, I'm grateful that you're sharing this story, because I haven't heard it before. I've talked to you and interviewed you before for summits and things, but you mentioned, teachers or coaches or other people around you. I think you said you had snippets of people sort of, was it that, did people notice and think, what is going on? Or was that what pulled you out of, like, how did you get out of that as well? Sorry, there's a bunch of questions.
They're good questions. I had so much freedom that I was actually really experiencing things that I probably wasn't ready for. And we know this is happening now too for teens. Their family was really close. So that was really attractive to me because my family ended up breaking up. I always have valued this like close-knit community. It doesn't have to always be blood family, but that was another way to like, oh, good, everyone's together. And that felt really beautiful, even though it was highly dysfunctional at the same time. And then, yeah, those snippets were those people. There were two teachers in particular, actually three teachers. I've been blessed with good teachers. And so even though they might not have known, for example, what was happening, they saw me and valued me as a person and my skills and talents, because I was also a really gifted artist and had these qualities that were noticeable to them. I mean, partly because that was what they were passionate about as well. So it was very easy. And so even just knowing that I had something I was good at and people saw it, as small as that sounds, it was huge. And I didn't have it necessarily all the time. It wasn't like deep conversations, but I knew that they knew. And that felt good for me. And I felt seen and witnessed. So I think I clung to those moments and those safe spaces and those safe people that I could just go make art, or I could, talk about something meaningful about the world with them. And I often wonder who knew. And I think my friends knew, and they did their best to be like, keep me involved with them and being social. And I think my parents didn't know what to do. And so a big part of my work is not necessarily like to save anyone, because we all have our own path. But if we know now, in terms of studies, that if a teenager has someone that gets them, sees them, supports them, just like is in their corner, so to speak, in a really healthy and balanced way, then a lot of these kind of missteps or dangerous scenarios or people don't find their way into that child's world, and they don't actually have to experience that type of unnecessary suffering.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you mentioned a bit about your work, and I'm curious, what are the things that at the moment parents are asking you and struggling with and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah. And it all connects to even what I think I was missing and even my parents were missing. And so this is a big full circle work for me. And that's why it's so meaningful, because if not only did I have someone, if my parents had someone that encouraged them and inspired them, or helped guide them with how to handle their teenager who seemed maybe rebellious, never home, like I was very strong-willed and also very sensitive, and that's a tough combo. And we're talking a lot about this more and more. And so one of the most important gifts that I want to bring into the world and share with each other, because I know we have this, is the ability to listen and to get curious and to stay in that place, because it's so easy to jump to conclusions, punishments. Even our school system inspires know the answer immediately, no mistakes, don't take risks, right? And actually, teenagers need to take risks. I was taking unhealthy risks, but we actually can take really healthy risks during this age and stage, and it's so key. So to be able to offer that sort of sounding board and be another head and heart in the room with parents, it feels like the most natural thing in the world. I don't believe parents are supposed to do this alone. I do believe it's a communal situation. I believe I would have been better off with more people aware of the scenario, not necessarily to pull me out, because I did have to find my own way out, and it was really traumatic, and that's maybe a whole other story. But like I said, really lucky to be here, and learning how to listen is a very valuable skill that is not just for parents, but certainly can be helpful, especially when raising a teenager.
Yes. And I think a lot of us feel like we're really good listeners, but we're probably not. Is that right?
I think it's probably true for all of us. There's a woman named Harriet Lerner that talks a lot about listening and apologizing, I think. I'm pretty sure those are her. And it's like, there's another quote about, just if anyone wants to do more research, child's often in need of a good listening to, not a good talking to. But we, the adults, make everything about lectures and lessons, and you need to understand and all these big things. And it's like, there's a reason why learning happens over years and decades. We actually can't download all of our wisdom immediately, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh. So what was that quote you said? I think kids need a good listening to, not talking to.
Not a good talking to. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
We can
Okay.
picture like a good talking to, and then a good listening to is like, well, what was that like for you? Oh, I can understand that. I really encourage parents often. I think one of the areas that can be really powerful is when your teenager or tween or child is complaining. But teenagers is so common, right? They're opening up in a new way, looking at the world going, what the hell is going on here? And they need to talk about it. I need to talk about it. And some of us got it and some of us didn't. And so if we can be that person, or at least one of those people that can go, what are you noticing? Oh, that is kind of messed up. What do you think would be better? What's the hardest part about this? Whether it's a big global issue, or I don't like math class, or this teacher is frustrating, or my friend is bugging me. It can be about anything. It's hardest when it's about the parent, right? If they're like, you never, and you don't, then it's like, it feels really personal. And I think that's one of the barriers, when we're not aware that we're taking it personally, and we think we're a good listener, or we think they have to listen because I'm their parent. Like, that's just the way it is. And oh man, does that not go well?
Ooh, okay. So you're bringing up so many good points. My brain went to what happens when we're talking with our child or teen, and it does feel like they're complaining about, quote unquote, small, silly little problems, or things like, oh, I don't want to go to school. And we know, well, you do need, like, for kids who are enrolled in a bricks and mortar school, well, you do have to go to school, so there's no point complaining. Like, when we get those kind of frustrations of my teen is complaining about something that, like, there's no fix kind of thing, how do we deal with those situations and listen, rather than snapping to that, well, there's nothing we can do, like, you just have to suck it up and you just have to go, or everyone hates math, like, you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, this is so natural, especially because so many of us grew up with that response from our parents. So we do find ourselves, parents often find themselves doing the same thing that they didn't like, and then justifying it because of so many reasons, right? It's just like, well, like you said, well, this is just how it is. So, and you better just do it, and you should just listen to me because that's what I had to do. and forgetting how they felt as teens. Because if we all kind of dial back, dive into our hearts, we can remember a time where we were like, if someone would just slow down, if someone would just hear me out. They know they have to go to school. Like, they know that. That's a known thing. And I've said this before, what teens don't know is that you get it, and that you understand, and that you care, and that you want to understand what it's like for them. We focus so much as adults often, you need to understand me, I know about the world and you don't. And of course, right, there's some wisdom that comes with years. But that's not even the point. They're like, can you see me struggling? I need you to see me. And the magic here is when we can slow down enough to go, what's so hard about school? Tell me more. What's the worst part? We learn that they're having trouble with a teacher, something inappropriate happened, they don't like a teacher, they have friend drama, whatever, right? There's any number of things that could be going, or they just don't like it and they're tired. And that's valid too, right? It doesn't even have to be this big thing. It can be this seemingly little thing. And that being said, we know that teenagers are massively sleep deprived, which affects metabolism, mood, their conflict with parents and communication. And so even the little things are pretty big right now. We completely bypass the needs of a teen brain when we're so focused on babies' needs and all these other stages. And I think just because they look older or have attitude, we're like, nah. It's like, oh, but this is just like a baby learning to walk from crawling, or a baby crying at night is just bigger and, feels like a dagger through your heart sometimes, or quite triggering and activating, right?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. So when we have kids who we're concerned about maybe how they're going at school, or we talked again offline about some things, a lot of kids are vaping at the moment. Kids are feeling like they need to go to, did we say like Sephora or Mecca, like, these getting the newest perfume and things like that. Can you help us understand from your experience and your point of view what's going on with some of those behaviors for teens?
Yeah. I think one thing to note that came up as you were just talking is that I think some of the reason it's hard to listen is because we're scared we won't be able to handle what we're going to hear. Right? So many parents feel so alone and are alone. There's a lot of single parents doing this solo. That's not easy. It's not natural either. Like I was saying before, it's much more natural to be surrounded by aunties, uncles, and other parents and that's what's more normal if we look at the history of humanity. This separateness is so new. And I think that it can really impact our ability to slow down and listen, because it's scary. It's like, well, what if it is big? Or I'm exhausted because I'm working 2 jobs, right? This is the reality for so many families right now. And so just to note that if you're struggling with listening, it makes sense. And there's also a way to practice, and we can practice with ourselves. And like I said, ask what the worst part is. Just be prepared to listen. If you don't know what to do, just keep listening. You don't have to do anything else. Just say nothing. Just gather info. That's what it's really about. And as far as the vaping and the Sephora, I mean, it's when I think about these, what we might call issues, I can also trace that back to some deep lineage that's within us as a humanity. We are designed to be working with plants, gardening, making perfumes, like real ones, not junk ones full of chemicals, right? We're meant to be doing this stuff together. There were rituals and coming of age experiences that included sweating or tobacco or gardening or making clothes or hunting, like all kinds, depending on the culture we're talking about. There was all of these ways to kind of embrace this stage and age that at least here are not happening anymore. And it's so scary to be going through something so transformational as a teen and have no footing, grounding, or really even elders or mentors, because parents are at work, teachers might not even, I don't know, maybe there's not a good relationship there. And so where do these teens look? Of course, Instagram, TikTok, celebrities, whatever. And not that that's all bad. There's some good stuff out there, but of course, not everything is inspiring and motivating and healthy and balanced.
Yeah. So what is your advice to parents, or maybe even just your perspective, when we feel like our kids are doing some of those things and they've kind of they've gone off track, and they're focused on the Instagram and the TikTok and having the latest jacket or shoes, or everyone else is vaping, or, things like that? Then what do we do when we think, okay, I want to support, I want to better guide my teen. I don't want to obviously shove my wisdom down their throat. And I know I need to listen, but yeah, any tips there?
I'm remembering, just tying it back to kind of that personal piece I shared before. I think my dad didn't know what to say. And I remember he would play a radio program with Dr. Laura Schlesinger, who used to talk about unhealthy relationships. And she'd have people call in and share. And I would just listen. And that's how I started to understand what was going on in my life and what was healthy and not healthy. And so this is just, it just popped back in, and I don't know if that'll land for anyone, but the reality is, like, your teenager is paying attention. I was paying attention. I wanted conversation about things that mattered, not a lecture. That's a different scenario. And so he may not have known what to say, but that was what he had, and it did land. And and so what parents can do is actually go, what do you notice when you vape? What do you notice when you drink? What's it like for you? What's fun? Is any part of it scary? Like, truly open to just understanding that, because what we want to do is enhance their awareness. When teenagers start to recognize why they choose these things, what's inside of these things, like the ingredients, and all of that kind of stuff, then we can actually start to have just nuanced, real conversations as human to human, rather than you have to listen to me and do as I say. Because of course, with counter will and this whole age and stage, that the more we push, the more they push. And let's face it, teenagers have way more energy than their parents typically. So it's a losing battle. And so I encourage parents to listen and get curious about that. Again, back to that curiosity and listening. What do you notice? What's that like for you? Where do you get these? Have we looked at what's in them? And then you get to even have conversations about, I mean, typically when I have these conversations with teens, they start to tell me, I honestly wish that I didn't have social media, or I wish a boy would just hold my hand, or when I'm at parties, I'm actually a little bit nervous. And they really do want guidance and support, but we just can't go in hard like lecture. We need to kind of understand their perspective over and over and over again, more and more and more. And then they're so often receptive, especially when we go, I have some thoughts, like, are you interested? If they're not scared about getting in trouble, they can say yes or no, then they have some control, and they've already felt heard and seen and witnessed in their perspective and understood. Then there's like this equal playing field, and then there's a respect there. And then there's influence, because really the true parenting tool is your relationship, which is how you have influence. If your relationship is not going well, doesn't actually matter what script or technique is used.
Oh my God. Okay. I wish that people could see my face right now. If you're watching on YouTube, you can. If you're listening on the podcast, you can't, but you can probably feel my energy. Everything you have just said makes so much sense to me, and it aligns so well with emotionally intelligent parenting. Like, we know kids and teens are balls of emotion. They're experiencing everything like at a heightened kind of max level. I love how you said, I don't know if you noticed, I was quickly trying to type this because it was such a great like script or sentence. You said, I have some thoughts. Are you interested? And I love that for kids of any age, especially for teenagers, because you're right. When we are listening more than we're talking or lecturing, we're building that trust and that respect, and that I want to hear what you have to say. What you are experiencing and what you're feeling and thinking and what you're going through is important to me. So I want to hear that. I want to see it from your perspective, even if I don't agree and I'm in my head going, oh my God, don't ever do that. If we build that, then we're building that ability to, it's almost that deep connection and bond that does, as you said, allows us to then have some influence. Like, our opinion matters to them.
Yeah.
Which we need, which I don't know if this is kind of if it's controversial or not, but I actually disagree when people say, oh, you cannot be your child's friend.
I disagree as well.
And I'm like, but with my friends, like, I can talk to them. They will take on my opinion. It matters to them. They listen. If I'm like this above and below, like, I'm up here, you're down there, what I say goes, and I don't care what you're saying. You just have to get on with it. Like, I don't have any connection. I don't really have any influence. Like, does that make sense? Like, I'm not saying, okay, we need to have kids' best friend and we need to have no boundaries and we'll be like, oh yeah, girl, don't worry about it. Like, we still have that leader kind of quality and, I don't know, dynamic, but like I am my kid's friend. It's almost like a bit of both. I don't know, what do you think?
I'm so with you. And I think people do get tripped up with like, oh, then they're going to walk all over me, or then I'm going to be partying with them. It's like, no one said anything about any of that. It's actually just human to human. And like you said, you're still the leader. You're still the one creating the culture. And the more we can slow down and listen, we create a culture of teaching by modeling and engaging how to slow down, listen, be critical, tap into one's inner awareness and knowing, because the real issue, I think that so much of this stems from is the parenting we all received and also the schooling we all received, which is that top down, listen no matter what, don't question anything crap.
You can say it. Crap.
And I think this generation, I mean, and not to say it's the most balanced version of it right now, because I think we're pendulum swinging quite a bit, and that's what's scary for people, right? Because we still need safety. We still need balance and all of this stuff. I think there's this pushback though. It's like, no more. Like, we're done just listening to someone because they said so. And it's like, the world is changing so fast. We need to really actually slow ourselves down, be aware of what we're digesting, from media to food to everything. And yeah, really show up with that awareness that I can be a parent and a leader and a guide. And the best leaders are benevolent and loving, and people want to follow them and be connected to them. This is a true leader, is someone that is inspiring, right? It's like that disciple discipline sort of concept. Instead of this harsh punishment hammer coming down, like create more trauma and pain. That's one of the differences. And, the other thing that comes up in that is that we can even look at adolescence as like, in some ways, a traumatic time, just because it is so transformational. It's a massive overhaul of the brain. And of course the body, is going through puberty. And so we need to we need to allow nature to do its thing, and also recognize that just like with kind of external events that can be traumatic, it's not the event itself that's hard or hardest, it's when we're alone in that. And there's the ACEs test that talks all about this, and it's really fascinating if anyone wants to read about it. And so how you show up is what softens and allows really tough stuff to be integrated, whether it's a developmental stage in age or a thing that happened at a party. The way we show up really does matter. And you want your kid to call you when they're in trouble. You want your kid to call you when they're scared. You want to also be able to prepare them for those scenarios.
Yeah. Can you mention that ACEs test again? Is that the adverse childhood experiences? Can you just mention, if people haven't heard of what that is, explain a bit?
Yeah, you can actually go online, and it's one of my favorite things I learned in grad school. And you kind of go in and you can answer some of the questions, and if you want, you can do your own scoring and see where you land. It's basically like, have any of these really tough things happen to you? What kind of support did you have? These two sort of lists, if I'm remembering it properly, and it sort of gets almost tallied like a scale. And if you had a lot of support with that hard stuff, it's pretty integrated, typically, the research shows. If you had a lot of hard stuff, or even some hard stuff, and like no support or very little support, that stuff felt bigger and harder and scarier, and might be even stuck inside of you and creating some of your belief system fears, etc. And so it's really fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So you guys can look that up online, ACEs, as in adverse childhood experiences. I have something I want to read out actually before we go. This is from your own Instagram, so it's nothing. I loved this quote that you put up, or this post, and I want you to kind of just explain it a little bit. I love it so much. Children are not born to obey, but to grow. It's not their role to follow orders. It's not yours to give orders. Their true purpose is to discover and be themselves. Your true purpose is to guide and support them calmly, clearly, and compassionately, while honoring their individuality and humanity at every step. Whoa.
I think I wrote that when I was thinking about what really matters at the end of our lives, to be honest. That's sometimes my inspiration. I'm really fascinated with that perspective, and I don't do it perfectly myself, but when I remember to bring that into my daily life, everything becomes a lot more clear. What really matters, what's important, how to listen, how to show up, how to connect. It's not the grades, it's not the college, it's not even the behavior. It's like, who is this person? And can I get subtle enough? I have a teacher in my life, a friend, that kind of talks about the more subtle we are, the more we can sense what's really going on. And what a gift to give to a child who's growing up in this world today, which is really intense and can be quite overwhelming. And yeah, I think that quote might trip people up because of the like, wait, they're not going to listen to me. It's like, it's beyond that, right? It's really having a relationship so strong that nothing can rock it, knowing yourself and your child so well that you can step through any door together, and you know how to keep them safe while empowering them to keep themselves safe and to be who they really are. Because, you know, that's the saddest part I think about school right now, at least in the States, is some schools are really still stuck in the like, you have to be good at everything instead of you need to be good at the thing you love and do that and be that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. It is such a joy to speak with you and to hear your perspective and your experience and what you know helps families. I want to say a massive thank you for you coming on and sharing today. Where are the best places that people can find out more about your work and follow you?
Yeah, KirstenCobabe.com or at Kirsten Cobabe. And I try to read every comment and read every DM. And I want to say thank you to you for holding space for me sharing that other piece of this and sort of hopefully tying some of the pieces together. And I know that so many of us have gone through our own experiences that have shaped us and that have been hard or maybe felt alone sometimes. And so we do get to recreate this a little bit if we want to and really show up for each other. And I think it's happening. I see it happening, at least. And that's only natural, that if we felt so separated, that the only place to go is closer together, more intentionally.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much again. It's been such a pleasure. And I hope everyone goes and finds you online and follows you and reaches out to you if they want support, because like you said, we've sort of lost that support community village, and we're not meant to have to do this alone. So
I agree.
I'm glad people like you are out there. Thank you so much for what you do.
Ditto. Thank you.
All right. Take care. Hey everyone, it is me again. I hope you really enjoyed that conversation. Go and find Kirsten, even if you're not a parent of teens yet, and even if your little ones are still very little, like those years are going to come. So I think we need to be prepared. It's our calling, it's our duty. I especially loved the conversation and the topics around if our teen has someone who is really in their corner and who really gets them and who really sees them. That is so powerful. It can even help our teen to avoid potentially dangerous situations or get out of them and have that support system to get out of doing things that they just really end up not wanting to be doing. I also love that Kirsten talked about how to stay curious, how to listen and not lecture. I think that was huge. And also that we do need to allow our teens some sort of space to take safe risks, because they're going to do it anyway, right? So we would rather, I think, be in their corner rather than like fighting against them like adversaries. That's never going to end well. Parents are not supposed to do this alone. I think Kirsten said that. I want to, just get that message across to everyone as well. I'm so glad that you're all here listening. I would love if you can share this episode with parents or friends that you know. Share it on your social media. Send it to someone. You just never know. I mean, everyone is going through their different things, right? You just never know that this could be the one thing that really clicks with them or really lands with them and makes a difference in their lives and their kids' lives. So that's my tiny little call to action. And I'm going to say thank you in advance. I hope you've enjoyed it and stay safe. I will see you guys in the next episode.